Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. This podcast covers the national champions. Thank you all for being here. Got a great show for you. The Grand Poobah, Mark Porter, and the Dean, Bill Kurelic, will be here shortly. Can't believe it's been a year, but it has been. For those of you who've been here forever, or at least a year, my family was on spring break then, which means I had control of my dog on my own. His name is Brad, and he likes to get vocal when people walk by the house or anyone kind of disturbs the perimeter. All 18 pounds of them ready to get it on. But I have no control over that right now. So if you hear Brad, he is not offering recruiting information. He's just being a little dog. So let's hope. I see him sleeping right there. Let's hope that continues. Also, want to let you guys know that practice is going on this week, hot and heavy. So our guys have been out there with bells on. You want to get all that content and coverage up and going as fast as you can. It is good stuff. But I got to tell you about a new sponsor we got this week, and I am thrilled about it. Look at this. Huel. Cool bottle, plastic, ready to chug. Nutritionally complete, ready-to-drink meal. I like the iced coffee, black edition. It is delicious. We have a great deal for you, too, which I'll tell you about at the end. But this is the most convenient thing I've had when you talk about these, ready to go, get going quickly type stuff. It is delicious. It tastes great. You just shake it, get after it, and it's good stuff. Some other details you need to know about it. Contains vitamin C to support your immune system. It's got the right amount of protein, essential fats, carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals as part of a balanced diet. I get a little boost from it. I don't know if you would, but it contains vitamin B12 to reduce tiredness and fatigue. And it's ready to drink and good for your gut. Source of calcium, which contributes to the normal function of digestive enzymes. But you already knew that. Want to make sure you get the deal here. So make sure I get this right. Yeah, new customers, which is key because that'll be you. Visit Huel.com. That's HUEL.com/Bucknuts and use the code Bucknuts to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. So Huel.com, again, HUEL. Those of you on YouTube or one of the other platforms here that can see it on the screen. It's good stuff. So you get, like I said, 50% off. Huel.com/Bucknuts. Got another new sponsor coming at you next, and maybe even another one. But the Dean is here. Mark Porter is here. Mark, his latest in Buckeye in the Sky starts this week. As you know, we do these video reviews of prospects. We're trying to get everyone done here, kind of the low-hanging fruit, as it were. So we start each week with an Ohio guy, and then the second of the week will be a more national prospect. Sam Greer we'll give you a tease of him later today. If there's a more important prospect, I don't know who it is. But the Dean. There are other important prospects around, Bill. Spring practice kicks in. Last Monday, we did the kind of visitors report, and you ranked them out. Big dudes back in the fold. Tyler Bowen has clearly gotten after it on the recruiting trail. I saw a very big dude with his arm around Ryan Day on the cover of our site. Who is that? Why is it important, Bill?
Is, for that matter, still on our site, Zayden Krempem. He is an offensive tackle, offensive lineman from Prosper, Texas. And he's a good one. He's got a kind of a who's who list of scholarship offers. He's about 6'4 and a half, maybe 6'5", 270 or so. And like I said, he's got a lot of offers. He also has some official visits set up. One of them at this point is not Ohio State, but that could soon change. Zayden actually is making it a 2.5-day visit. He got here on Sunday afternoon around 2 o'clock. He flew into Columbus, got to Ohio State then, was at practice yesterday morning and is at practice this morning as well. And he will leave later today from Columbus. And, maybe he gets an official visit set up with Ohio State before he leaves. We'll see. But he told me last night that he probably will get one set up, whether it be before he leaves or sometime in the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, gets it set up. But he's 6'1.5", but Ohio State is recruiting him as an offensive tackle, but someone that could play guard or center for that matter. And he was someone that Justin Fry offered a scholarship to last October, but he never was able to get a game visit set up to Ohio State. So today, his first visit to Ohio State, and it did go extremely well. And if you want more details, just go to our site. There's a whole interview article with Zayden.
Speaking of Zayden, those of you participating live, Mark, we like to bring the guys up here and give everyone a quick look as we see them for the first time. Your thoughts?
I am seeing a Maxwell Riley type player more than a Sam Greer or Adam Guthrie type player. And Maxwell Riley, of course, is the commit from Avon Lake. But, like you said, he's not the 6'6" kid out on the edge, 6'4", it looks like. I mean, really looks a lot like Maxwell Riley the more you watch him. So I could see where they say he might be an inside guard or whatever. But finisher, runs his feet. But, yeah, I think that's your comparison right now.
Which, by the way, I mentioned he has official visits set up. The ones he has set up right now in order are LSU, SMU, Texas, and Michigan. So, those two at the end there are the ones to kind of certainly be aware of.
Checkbooks, get your checkbooks out. Who else was here, Bill? Who else do we need to know about? Also, in general, was the first week, and this is week 2, was the first week more crowded, second week more crowded? When do you expect most of the dudes to come? Is there a hot time coming?
Well, last week was a little bit more crowded because there was the start of spring practice, and the first practice or two always attracts a lot of guys. But this week will get more crowded, and things will continue to lead up to the spring showcase game, which is on April 12th. But as far as who else yesterday, got to talk about Elbert Rock Hill. He made it down to Columbus with his dad, and the visit went well. I think it was pretty much all positive for the Buckeyes. He spent time with, of course, Tim Walton, spent time with Ryan Day, Matt Patricia. It was first time that Elbert and Elbert Sr., his father, got to meet Matt Patricia in person, and they were impressed. An official visit wasn't officially scheduled, but in talking to his dad last night and putting on a story on our site right away, in fact, I talked to them, as his dad put it, we just walked into the door and I talked to his dad. The likelihood, I think, is really pretty good that he is going to get an official visit set up with Ohio State. He's going to talk to Tim Walton again this week, and certainly wouldn't be a shock if they get an official visit set up. Another interesting guy that visited Ohio State yesterday was, and for that matter, he's still at Ohio State. He stayed overnight as well, just like Zayden Krempem. But Peyton Dyer, he's from Duluth, Georgia, and he is a South Carolina commitment. But a week and a half ago, he visited Georgia, visited Ohio State yesterday and today, and he is contemplating setting up an official visit to Ohio State. And kind of he's got to work around some things because he has official visits, I think 4, maybe 5 official visits already set up. But there's a decent chance he makes an official visit to Ohio State. And then another interesting guy is Jacob Eberhard. He's 2000. He's a guy out of St. Louis Kirkwood High School, 2020 guy, and he's definitely talking about getting back to Ohio State. So he got offered a scholarship yesterday by the Buckeyes. So that's another one to certainly be aware of.
I apologize, especially to those on the podcast who don't get to see my facial antics as my dog ruins the show. I've tried every other possible thing to get this worked out. I have no.
I think he needs some cornbread hemp gummies.
Cornbread hemp?
Yeah.
We don't want to. I digress. All right.
I know you got a free batch.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know you got a free
Buck Rational. Look at this. Look at these two guys. Buck Rational and Mark should be hanging out together. Look at this. These two.
There you go.
Jokes timed correctly. Are they brothers? Is Mark actually Buck Rational? So,
there we go.
There you go.
I think it's just nap time for Bradley. Nap time for Bradley. Give him the free samples. See how they work.
I will say this. Dogs are really popular. I had this discussion with somebody like, you know who did best after the pandemic? Dogs. Everybody loves dogs now, who didn't even before. So if we ever find out there was a certain pooch that started the pandemic, conspiracy theorists get after it. All right.
Get us back on track here. Bill has been killing it over the past couple of days. As I follow my Twitter feed, I can't scroll 5 articles without seeing another kid that has visited Ohio State, is on campus with Ohio State, is going to Ohio State next week. I have no idea how he's keeping track of it all. So we're lucky to have him. And, Bill, this is when we appreciate you most, I'm sure.
No, they don't call him the dean for nothing.
Yeah. No, this is some hardcore work he's doing.
Speaking of which, the Elbert Hill situation pretty well. That's from up your way. Do you get the sense it's changing, or are we just in kind of almost like a hold set here as we go through it? Your vibe?
Boy, this could send me down a tangent, because my initial reaction is Elbert Hill is going to be an NIL deal. We're going to get into NIL, and that's going to be a never-ending negotiation until signing day. There's always going to be someone at the last minute that can say, okay, we give you 10,000 more. My digression comes because I talked to a big-time college coach, and he thinks NIL is coming to an end, where the proposal that is out there that is being mulled around is the $22 million cap with all sports, and you divide that up, amongst the boys and girls sports, and the universities are now going to pay the players, and there's going to be a fair, guardrail system where everybody who wants to be under that $22 million cap can be, anyone who doesn't cannot be. And I think that's going to make these deals more transparent and a little more fair, because some people are running way over that $20 million cap right now. This coach told me, he goes, if someone's offering these kids money right now, it may just be funny money, because they may never be able to get that deal if this, new system is instituted next year or the year after. So you can be Oregon and say, hey, Albert, we're going to give you $500,000. Well, when this system maybe gets voted through, and I'm told it's pretty close, they're hashing through a lot of stuff, but this is momentum towards it being done. We would have a more fair, transparent system where these deals that are out there now would all be null and void. So talk about a confusing time. And I don't mean to throw this mud, not having facts and this deal done right now, but this is Bucknuts, and we get to talk about some rumors and some candid conversations, but this is public. I mean, this is out in the, public ether. But so I think right now there are kids that are aware of this, and they're almost in a holding pattern of what are we going to do? How is this going to affect us? And it's also like last year's class got the gravy train, they really took advantage of that wild, wild west. And this class may get to dip into that a little bit, but I think we're going to be talking about how that changes coming in the future. So you talk about Elbert Hill, he's a tip of the spear guy who's going to be, swayed by a lot of people. Ohio State and him are going to have a real tight relationship with this negotiation, where Ohio State's going to be able to put in a very competitive bid and, make sure they can land him. Because I see the comments, and people are right. He is a guy that you put the must get tag on him.
It's going to be interesting because essentially what we're describing here is a salary cap system. And I've thought about this. When they talk about, for example, in professional basketball, professional football, these salaries have gotten so large that when someone says the number, it's like overwhelming. You try and put that into like human terms, and you can't. But really what they should be telling you is what percentage of the cap that takes up, because the cap moves, right? And all we're describing now is a system. If you have 22 million, everybody's going to get a piece of that. And then you have to decide how big each person's piece is. And that's a percentage of the total. So you can say 3 million, X million, that's a great number. But what it really matters is what percentage of the total are they willing to give you? For example, I believe, don't hold me to the exact number here, but like the franchise tag on you can't be more than 30% of the cap in one person, that kind of stuff. But it's going to be interesting.
I was told the debate right now is how they're going to cut in women's sports. Obviously football brings in the revenue that, of the 22 million, should football get 18 million of it, and the rest of the sports get the other 4. So that's being negotiated. Now, NIL will still be there, but NIL is going to be supposed to function the way NIL was supposed to. There'll be contracts that are actually because of your name, image, and likeness above and beyond what the school can pay you. So if you are a premier player, you will be able to capitalize on those type of deals. But I heard they're going to be vetted to make sure they're actually NIL deals. And then Steve Wynn, you can put up his comment. This was the next thing that we talked about, is the bag men will reappear, because once you reach your cap, and
you put a cap on it, people are going over the cap and they're going to cheat.
People are going to go, and there's always a kid that, hey, let's give him the extra 10 or 20,000 that his mom is asking for, and make sure we get him, and that world's going to exist. But we've been following Ohio State and Bill forever. They're not a bagman type institution. There are certain colleges that didn't have to do that in the past. They could play it clean. And, so we'll see how that all transpires. But so there will be a cap, there will be NIL money, and there will probably be bagmen for certain colleges, certain sports, and the game goes on.
So ask yourself this question. This is essentially, there's a salary cap, and big time school X then gets word that a 5-star kid wants to come play for them. They're going to say no. They're going to bagman it. I mean, that's what always has happened. And all the payments now just kind of, I think that leveled the playing field more. I don't know, man. I'm not sure what's going to pass. I had a meeting with someone yesterday who claimed the same thing. I'm not sure about all that. I got to see that to believe it. I'm not saying it won't happen, but the teams anytime you're in and I'm tangentially here, anytime you're in a position where the people with the most money and power are succeeding, I don't know why they want to change it. So I'm not disputing what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying? Like the big timers.
Here's what's not sustainable is if the NFL operated every year where every player was on a 1-year contract, and at the end of the year, everybody was a free agent again, that would be an unsustainable league. And that's college football right now, where every kid, Jeremiah Smith included, is on a 1-year deal where at the end of every year, I can go wherever I want and nobody can stop me. There isn't a rule in the world that can stop that from happening right now. And I think that scares even the titans of college football that, boy, another titan could take one of our key pieces. And we saw big time quarterbacks leaving. Georgia loses a quarterback, boy, that's not fun. Caleb Downs and Seth McLaughlin coming over to us is fun for us, but it's hell for someone else. So
yeah, but that's because
those are the shots across the bow.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but, I mean we're rooting. We said this before. Selfishly, we want Ohio State to, take advantage of these rules because they can, but the sport in general may have to put some guardrails.
Agreed, but think about it this way. Who's left Ohio State that would have contributed?
Nobody yet.
Right. That's the thing.
Nobody
the yet being the key thing. It will happen, like you said. But the yet,
it's just
I don't
scary.
see people in power with money doing it until yet becomes now. See what I'm saying? Like, I get it, but
100%.
They're in charge. If you don't think the system has been good for Ohio State, we just won the title. I mean, it's really good for Ohio State. You're the best at producing NFL players. You got a ton of money. You got a real city to provide these NIL support. I mean, these SEC schools, a lot of them are falling behind because they're in smaller towns that don't have that prevalence of business in there and stuff. So, all right, we got to get off this.
Dan,
go ahead.
You and I were Dallas. Yeah, last point. You and I were Dallas to Niners fans in their heyday. And just like this, I didn't want the rules to change. Our teams were the switching back and forth for Super Bowls in the 80s and 90s. Now the rest of the league said it's not good for everybody else. And that probably will be the mentality that will prevail at the end of the day and whatever time frame.
Hollywood Hagger. And these anecdotal stories, I've got a ton of them too, but this is a great one. Hollywood Hagger. Oh, excuse me. I had a player's mom go to Vegas with us and asked a high major school for $5,000. She got it, then wanted another $5,000 a couple of days later after she spent it gambling. That term is not spent it. It's called lost it. And by the way, my guess is that's hoops. And if you think football's crazy, I can't release some of it for public consumption, but it's spellbinding how much money these kids are getting and the offers that are going out in basketball. It is unbelievable. Go ahead, Bill.
Different beast, but you mentioned who has Ohio State lost that would have helped. I can name two in basketball. I saw one of them light it up for Michigan on this weekend. And there was a big guy that left Ohio State. Those two could have definitely helped the basketball program. Again, a different beast, but it happened to Ohio State in basketball.
Different beast is an accurate representation of football versus basketball. Maybe one day you guys would be surprised if we spent 15 minutes talking basketball right now. I would get 100,000 complaints maybe. So one day what we'll do is we'll pick a time in the show. We'll do 20 minutes of football and then have a spot where we're like, if you want to just listen to football, you can sign off, and then we'll haggle about hoops for about 10, 15 minutes, but that'll come up. New sponsor, another one. And we thank you guys for this, because every time we get a new sponsor, it just means that the interest is good. And another interrupting comment. What I love about the interruption comments is it's always guys who never otherwise participate. So they're just cranky. That's all right. Can't please everyone, Mark. Although Mark's wife is very popular. I went on a meeting yesterday.
I need a buzzer.
Yeah, no doubt. We're just passionate, guys. Sorry. Here's our new sponsor, Bird Dogs. And that is a legit sponsor. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Bird Dogs or worn them. They are super comfortable. You see Bill nodding up there. He loves some Bird Dogs. You talk about guys wearing khakis. Are you one of the guys that wore the 7-inch khakis with the pockets on the side? I know I was that guy for about 5 or 6 years. The pocketed khaki shorts. These things are incredible. They're comfortable. They look better than the other boxy khaki shorts. They look nicer than most athleisure. There's like this new thing of athleisure now. Like you get to wear sweatpants. The pandemic hooked all of us who didn't want to wear a suit or jeans to work or anything like that. Now they let you get fit up, and it's nice and comfortable. Work, date night, golf course, bars. Dress them up or dress them down. Never have to take them off. Look good, feel good. And the material is like the high quality stuff. So for a limited time, our listeners get a free hat with any order when you use Bucknuts at birddogs.com. Birddogs.com. Get a hat completely free when you use code Bucknuts at birddogs.com. Support our show and let them know we sent you. All right. Let me get to the other stuff. All right. We talked about the needs to control the borders of Ohio State. And we've talked about this offensive line class borderline ad nauseum because it's been so talented. And now it's really, we've been talking about this guy for, I feel like, since his freshman year in football, but definitely his freshman year in basketball when he helped lead Akron-Hoban to the state championship. And we remarked that he was a dancing bear of sorts, and that is Sam Greer. Left tackle from Akron-Hoban. Mark, I'll start it with this. I'm not saying he's the best, but he looks most like an NFL left tackle that I've seen in Ohio in quite some time.
Yeah, and then we've been talking about these guys forever. I think we've micro-analyzed them to the point where we've talked about it all. I mean, we've watched his basketball highlights, freshman, sophomore highlights, been up and down with his injuries. At the end of the day, he might not be the best player this moment because he's still a work in progress. But at the end of the day, if you were buying a stock, this stock may finish the highest. And I mean that by where he would get drafted in the NFL.
Mhm.
I start off talking about there's only a few kids in the country with this type of wingspan. And if you've heard me on the podcast before, he has a 747 like wingspan, okay, which he's just a wide, enormous body, 6'6.5. I started off with a bunch of plays of him drive blocking because that's his newest trait where he's starting to get the strength where when he runs his feet, he's finishing with the pancakes. He used to just finish as a freshman where he'd drive guys out of the way and maybe didn't have the strength to get over the top on them and get them off balance. But now you see the punch, you see the feet running, and you see that extra
it's the punch
gas in the tank. And what the best part about him is boy, he's going to get stronger and punchier and more explosive as he gets into weight rooms and really gets time to develop. So I don't know how much we're going to get in his film. We're about halfway through. We have him pulling, we have him doing pass protection. With me, I say it all the time. He's checking this box, the drive blocking. He's checking the pass protection with that wingspan. When he spreads out and his lateral quickness, it's like running around the Great Wall of China. You're never going to get around him if he's on his game. And as he sees more and more speed, those traits are going to come in handier and handier. Like I said, he's not a finished product. That's no knock on him. He's a young kid. All linemen have that big proverbial puppy dog look to them where they're flopping around out in the yard. And you just say to yourself, who's going to feed this thing in a couple of years when it finally, grows into those paws? That's Sam Grier in a nutshell.
Couple things, Bill. I want you to get to his recruitment, but I'll say this. He is an athlete. He's not just a big dude. If you watch him play basketball, he's got great feet. He's also a really good passer. One of the things I look for in basketball players for basketball like you is passing ability. He's a really good athlete. And I think in the long run, guys who are that big that are also good athletes and have sweet feet are really appealing. And when Mark talks about wingspan, this is an enormous deal. And if you need any other evidence of this, look at the current crop of people trying to be drafted for the NFL. We've been told all season that Will Campbell from LSU is going to be the number one tackle taken in the draft. He went to the combine and his arms weren't 34 inches long. He is now not the number one tackle in the draft. Now they're saying he's going to have to play guard because in the NFL, you have to have 34-inch arms, apparently. No one has been successful in the league with 33.5-inch arms at left tackle, which is incredible. But there you have it. All right, Bill. I mean, we've talked about Sam Grier's recruitment forever. He's one of those guys that, to me personally, Bill, if everything checks out, I just would be shocked if he wasn't a Buckeye. Am I overconfident? And who else do you think is really in the mix? Because I know he's got some visits lined up.
Well, I've been a guy that for quite some time has felt like if I had to make a pick, I would definitely make my pick for Ohio State for Sam Grier. He has said all along he's going to take official visits. He left the door last time, and I've talked to him a lot last time. He left the door open a little bit, saying, maybe not. You never know. It could happen sooner. So, and I think that's a good thing to do. Leave the door open a little bit. But as of right now, he is still planning to take official visits. He's not announcing them yet. He wants to, announce them at a later date. But he has told me, and he's told me this more than once, Ohio State absolutely will be one of his official visits. I think Missouri will get one too, again, providing he doesn't decide to announce early. But in the end, I like Ohio State's chances. And I'll say too that, I've mentioned that when I went to a Hoban game his sophomore year, he was still injured and I didn't get to see him play. I had seen him before, but not play in a game. I was really impressed with him, seeing him in a game his junior season. And it's kind of like Mark talked about. He's not necessarily a finished product, but he's getting that power and drive. The game I saw, they played Cleveland St. Ignatius, and they won easily, but they had a number of times where they were, inside the red zone. And I was really impressed with how he blocked around the goal line, blocking down on guys. I mean, he just put them in the ground. So I think Sam's getting better and better, and I think he is a prototype offensive tackle and a guy that has, in my opinion, if he continues to develop an NFL future, a big NFL future.
Speaking of guys with great wingspans and an NFL future, Bill, Christopher Sowers beat me to the punch here. Jackson Cantwell visited. He's good at football. He is, I don't know what you want to call the term, Jordan Seaton. Who else is it, Mark, that we haven't gotten? Baker.
David Sanders.
Brandon
Baker.
We are now
David
building
Sanders.
up the hype.
Yep.
Exactly. We are now building up the hype for the prototype. Nice to have a prototype from Ohio at the same time, Sam Greer. But Jackson Cantwell, Bill's ranked number 1. Got to give him a credit for that. But your thoughts on him, his visit, and his ultimate recruitment. This is one of those recruitments where I kind of try to read the tea leaves, and he had some comments about meeting Ohio State people that kind of was encouraging.
Yeah, and he is from your favorite town, Dan, that I'm sure you've been to many times, Nixa.
Looking for a summer place there, Bill.
Nixa in the great state of Missouri. But, he still has his official visits scheduled: Miami, Missouri, Georgia, Michigan, Oregon. Oregon has the last shot there. I do think NIL is going to be very important in this one. He did have some encouraging comments, but what he did not say for sure 100% was that he will make an official visit to Ohio State. So we'll see. I've said all along that if I had to make a pick, I would pick the field versus Ohio State, and my thinking on that hasn't changed. I will say, you've got to figure out how to divide the money up, and it hasn't been Ohio State's track record that, and for that matter, a lot of schools would like this, that they're giving offensive linemen the most money. So, we'll see.
It's also interesting as we talk about salary cap percentage. If there's other prototype left tackles in the class, you're going to pay 2 left tackles when some of that money could go to your defensive end. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of questions they're going to have to answer. All right. Bill, let us know what's coming up the rest of the week here. Visitors you expect to come? Is anybody on commitment watch? We're kind of in that, I don't want to say the dog days of spring, but we're getting into it.
Well, they do have practice going on this morning, and there's some pretty big names visiting Ohio State. Neiman Lawrence, 2028 quarterback from Florida, who Ohio State offered a scholarship very early back at Ohio State for yet another visit. He's been Ohio State multiple times. Luafu Lumoli is a linebacker from the same high school as JT Tuimoloau, D. Scott Jr. He is visiting Ohio State. Ohio State offered him pretty early. An interesting guy. Mark's well aware of this guy. Is a young guy, very young, 2029 running back, Edmund McAllister. He's I think going to be a stud. So those are some of the guys that are visiting Ohio State today. But as the week goes on, really couple of 3 interesting ones in particular to me. Evan Goodwin, talk about offensive tackles that Ohio State has offered. He was first in line. He got the first offer from Tyler Bowen as an Ohio State coach. He is visiting Ohio State Thursday and Friday. Big visit. First time out here. Blaine Bradford is a safety. I think that's going to be tough because his brother is at LSU. But he's visiting Ohio State this weekend. And then CJ Guyver's a running back that Carlos Loughlin has offered. He makes his visit to Ohio State this weekend. So those are certainly 3 names to keep in mind. And, of course, we don't want to leave out our favorite running back, so to speak. Talked about him many times. Savion Hyder is visiting Ohio State this weekend, and doesn't get much better than that for sure.
What's up with Savion Hyder, Bill?
Same old. Savion's got his official visits set, a number of them, 4 or 5, 4, I believe. And one of them is to Ohio State. That's going to be interesting. Michigan is another one. And also I should mention that Simeon Caldwell, who is the nephew of Tim Walton, he's a safety, could play in the box though. out of Florida. He's visiting Ohio State this weekend, so certainly don't want to leave him out of there.
Haven't we gone through a defensive backs coach trying to recruit one of his relatives out of the South, and it didn't go that well, Bill? Wasn't Perry Eliano related to God, I forget his name. That's too bad. We didn't get him anyway, so forget it. All right, Mark, want to tell us about McAllister?
Bolden, Dan. Think
You're
Bolden
right.
there.
You're right.
McAllister from
Edmund, you say, is it Edmund McAllister? What did you say?
Oh,
his name
okay,
was?
yeah, Edmund McAllister. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the line.
Steve,
I've been
Steve
following him
McAllister.
play.
He's not here. Steve McAllister
Yeah.
is here to rip us? No.
Edmund McAllister, 2029. I believe he's headed to Pickerington North or Pickerington Central for high school. I think I've been following him since 6th grade. He was one of those kids that would post a lot of his workout videos, track videos. As he got into tackle football, we followed him. I think I just watched him at his pro day for Pickerington, and he ran a time that was blazing. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but for a young kid and him to already be visiting Ohio State, that he is going to be a legitimate prospect that we're going to have to follow. Just has to grow like any other 8th grader. I mean, showing all the markers and quickness and whatever, but it's funny that his name is now appearing as an Ohio State visit, because as my kids were playing the youth 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels, I think it was kind of ironic. I was watching him on YouTube.
That's why I mentioned earlier the basketball offers, because as my son has, this is not a lie. I checked the transfer portal yesterday in basketball for the first time. I don't know how many, let's say there's 15 guys from Dayton, the Dayton area that are in Division I. 7 of them had entered the portal in the 30 minutes before I looked at it. And I can tell you this. There are kids that I didn't even think were that good in high school that are getting offers like they're a radiologist at a major hospital in New York City. It's unbelievable how much money is being thrown around in basketball. I know the football one is crazy, but the difference in football is you've just got such a much bigger roster. You know what I'm saying? It gets spread out. The basketball stuff, someone's going to write a book about this, and no one's going to believe it. All right.
Dan, before you go, I mentioned a bunch of guys, but somebody asked about Sincere Johnson. He is visiting Ohio State today. I didn't name everyone, but yeah, Sincere Johnson is visiting Ohio State today. And real quick story, I don't know if you guys saw it, talk about the basketball stuff. Did you see Hurley's comment, the basketball coach, about a week ago? He said 50% of my roster already knows they're entering the transfer portal, and some of them already know their destination. And that's at a great hoop school, and season's not over when he said it, and he already knows 50% of his roster is leaving.
I think that's conservative. I think it's conservative. I think you're going to you might get to a point soon where everybody enters the transfer portal in basketball, just to create some kind of it's hard to get your mind around. But tell you this, if you got some handles and you think you can teach your kid to hoop it up, do a better job than I did, because we have not gotten one NIL offer yet. But we're here. Mark, going to the highest bidder, baby. All right. We appreciate you guys stopping by. I definitely appreciate your patience with Brad. He actually did not perform too poorly today. The rest of the week will be a crapshoot. And we mentioned Mark will have his Sam Greer Buckeye in the Sky up later today. You will not get a better scouting report, and you'll really get a sense of how Sam's kind of come along here. So hopes will be high. Appreciate you guys stopping by, Bill and Mark, but I'm not done. Ridge Wallet. Look at this thing, man. This is my wallet. I lose nothing now. It's smaller than my phone. Look at this. I hate carrying around bulky stuff. Ridge Wallet's where it's at, man. I am telling you. Another product we seriously endorse. I don't know if you're carrying around that Seinfeldian, like, book, bulky, overstuffed. The Ridge Wallet, man. You get to choose any colors. They got, like, hard black and patterns and stuff. I went with the sand, I think it's called. Extremely thin, securely hold up to 12 cards plus cash. Premium high-performance materials is made with carbon fiber, titanium, and stainless steel. They're built to last. Lifetime warranty. This is the last wallet you'll ever want to buy. Now, I'll tell you this. know if you guys have a bad back like I do. And I used to carry the bulky wallet. I've had 2 back surgeries. Not blaming it on that, but it didn't help. Chronic lower back pain from sitting on that thing? No need. 50 colors and styles, not just functional, it's personal. You can get your favorite NFL team on there. Notice I did not do that. So I have a life. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all products. But they're now having their once-a-year anniversary sale, 40% off at ridge.com/Bucknuts. 40% off. Ridge.com/Bucknuts. Biggest sale of the year. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Have a good one, Bucknutters.